Alrighty, so by now students should have an idea of their procedures, and we've got a lesson for them to just make the materials that they need. So they should know what they're going to do, and yeah, today they're going to figure out what they're going to make. And yeah, this is just, I mean, kind of just a stopgap placeholder lesson just to give students time to make their materials. And these are the things they should have, and we see under point 1, 2, and 3 all groups will have, and number 4 other. This is anything specific to their particular experiment. So for example, if they're doing Loftus and Palmer, they'll have to find the right video to use. If they're doing Bransford and Johnson with the schema, they'll either use the original passage or make their own. I recommend use the original. And then yeah, I would just give them time to first of all figure out a list of what they're going to create, and then get them to delegate. And remember that they have to explain one of their materials. And so ideally they should explain it in a way that, yeah, I would have them explain something specific to their experiment. So ideally not explaining informed consent forms or debriefing. That's going to be common to all experiments. So ideally they want to start with something that they created and explaining how they created it. And they should try to explain how they created it in a way that it controlled for an extraneous variable. And now if they are taking something directly from an original experiment, so for example Bransford and Johnson, and they're just copying the original passage about laundry that was read, I mean, they could explain why they did that, but that might be a little bit tricky, and so that could be an instance where I would say, okay, it's fine to then also explain, say, informed consent, and they might explain information that they didn't include in the form and include it later in the debriefing, so as not to have any expectancy effects or something like that. So there, it's a bit flexible, but I would most studies, I think it's best if they explain the materials specific to their experiment. Now I don't always give an example, but I thought this is a little bit tricky. So here's an example just copied and pasted from the body, they should actually say body dissatisfaction questionnaire, from the example IA, and they can have a look at this. And I also like this example because they can't just copy straight, they can't copy straight from it because it's unique to this experiment. And yeah, then I would just get them to have a chance to write in their notes an explanation and get that checked. And hopefully that's what they've done in that lesson. And we're getting ready to conduct the real experiment, so homework should just be making sure they're keeping up with all this. I'm always surprised how long it takes students to get things done. That might take us, say, 10 minutes, it takes them 30 minutes, but we just have to allow for that. And then we're getting into the pilot study.